Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope your day is starting off just fantastic. This picture behind me was posted on the I Choose Canada group by Sonia, and it's a photo of Larder Lake in Ontario, sunrise, one of her favorite pictures that she snapped a couple of years ago and shared with us. Beautiful picture. Now in this video we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in US politics, but how that relates to Canada. Because as Americans say, when they elect a president, they're electing the leader of the free world. Now, you may say that, but I'll assure you that any leader that you elect down in the United States is not my leader and is not the leader of the free world. But we all understand that whoever is running the United States, the decisions that that president makes affects the world. Decisions that US presidents make probably affect Canada the most of any other country. So in Canada, we are very aware of who your president is. We are very aware of what your president's policies are. And we have fairly strong opinions, mainly revolving around who we don't want to be your president. It's none of our business, really, because we don't get to vote. But whoever you elect will affect us in our country. So I would say that the majority of Canadians despise Donald Trump. And we really hope that Trump, if he happens to run again for a third term, like he says he will, or any Republican that follows him, generally public opinion in Canada is that we hope that person loses, which leaves it up to the Democrats. It's all up to them to win. And I'm here to just explain to Canadians, my Canadian viewers, that we have to not put our hope that Democrats will oust the Republicans, and we cannot rely or count on in any way that things will change down in the United States. Now, I've done lots of videos about how we should handle ourselves and what our goals should be as a nation moving forward. But let's talk a little bit about should we have any hope that the Republicans lose in 2028? Can we count on the Democrats? Let's talk about that a little bit. And I'll start by because I notice in the comment section, if you're watching my videos, the way YouTube algorithms work and social media works, if you're American and you happen across one of my videos, you're probably leaning towards a Democrat. You're probably not a Republican. It's just the way the algorithm funnels people into different media sites. And I've had some comments in the comment section saying, please don't assume that all of us Americans agree with Trump's policies and agree with this administration. And many of us disagree, and he's going to lose. His popularity is very low now, and all we have to do is get the American people out to vote. And there's more Americans that don't agree and are shocked with what he's doing. And so don't group us in with the Republicans. And some are upset when I use the word Americans rather than the administration. But you poor Democrats, let's have a heart-to-heart, tough love conversation, because I lay the blame almost entirely on you. You can't blame Republicans, for voting Republican. Everyone expected them to do that. Let's start at the beginning here. This all started back in, when was it, 2015? When there was an election in the United States, an election that should have been the biggest blowout, the easiest election ever for a Democrat to win. It was an election, the Republican Party chose a reality TV personality as their candidate, who was a clown, who everyone assumed was a clown, who everyone laughed at, who said stupid things. And the Democrats said, well, this is going to be easy. We're going to defeat this. He's a clown. You can't lose to a clown. And so what did you do? You had a convention and you decided to choose someone to face the clown. And the Democrats chose probably one of the least popular figures in their party at the time. If there was polling done at the time, one of the least popular people, the least popular Democrats at the time was Hillary Clinton. And you chose her to run against Donald Trump. I don't know why you did, but I know that she was married to a former president and she had the whole Democratic Party apparatus at her side, and she became your nominee. And she lost, humiliatingly lost to a clown. I would not characterize that election as being won by the Republicans. I would characterize it as lost by the Democrats. And so we had 4 years of a clown running the United States. And it was, at that time, kind of humorous and funny. And he was in the news a lot doing stupid things. And by the end of his term, people had kind of gotten fed up of being a country run by a clown. And the Democrats had another convention to choose another personality to go up against Trump. And you chose Joe Biden. And to his credit, Joe Biden won and defeated Trump in the next election. Whew! The Democrats were back in power. Of course, the clown, being the clown that he is, just did what a clown normally does, is say stupid things and just said, well, it's not true. He didn't beat me. The election was rigged, and he actually lost, and he shouldn't be president. But that's besides the point. Let's continue with the story here. As the next election was approaching, for the 2 years prior to that, the Democrats did something very strange. And we could see this in Canada, and I think around the world we could see this. The Democratic Party and the whole media system that supported the Democratic Party had a strategy, and their strategy was to try and convince people all over the world, and Americans in particular, that when they saw Joe Biden, a man who was aging, getting old, who was having trouble walking, was having trouble speaking coherently and articulating any kind of a message, when we saw an old man that really looked like he needed to respectfully retire and live out his elderly years, the Democratic Party tried to convince us that no, that's not true. That's not what you're seeing. He's sharp. He's on the ball. He's the guy. He's going to go for another 6 years. He's going to finish his term and then go for another 4 years. And what you see is not true. And you kept up that act up till a few months before the election. And then it became obvious to everyone because unfortunately during the election, Joe Biden, the poor guy had to go on TV in a debate. And it was just obvious for the whole world to see. And so you were left in this situation where you're a month or so ahead of an election with no candidate or no viable candidate, a candidate that was assured to lose. And so you just anointed the then vice president to run, who herself was not very popular in the United States. You didn't have a convention. You didn't use the bench strength of your party and decide, well, who would be the most suitable to win the upcoming election. You blew it again. You blew it 2 times. And now it pains me to tell you, if you're a Democrat from the United States, you are on the path to lose again. And I did a video about this back in July. It was called How to Win versus the Republicans in the midterms and in 2028, where I proposed free advice for the Democrats. Anyone who wanted to watch that video. Back in July, when the tariffs were being imposed, and it was obvious to me and it was obvious to all economists that prices would start increasing in the United States, that the policies that Donald Trump was imposing, taxing its own citizens and all the imports from all other countries, this was going to result in inflation and increased prices in your country. And I coined a phrase, a slogan for you to use, Trump's tariff tax. And I suggested that if, as a party, your leadership promoted that slogan and that message in every interview they did, every topic that was discussed. I did the video in July, August, September, October, November. So for the past 5 months, if the Democratic leadership was constantly bombarding that message, things are going to get worse because of the Trump tariff tax. The Trump tariff tax is going to cause everything to cost more. It's going to make life miserable for all Americans. If you had pursued that message for that 5 months, right now you would be reaping the rewards. Because right now the number one issue that Donald Trump is facing is, you guys are talking about it, affordability. Affordability is a Democratic hoax, he says. In fact, Donald Trump, when he won the last election, in an interview, he famously said, and I'll paraphrase, I won the election on two things, really, the border and groceries. No one knew the word groceries until then, but it was groceries that won it for me. The clown was trying to explain that It was prices. It was affordability. It was the cost of living. That's how he won. That was one of the issues. And anyone could see that that cost of living was going to increase and that these tariffs would cause prices to go up. And that's the one issue where the Democrats could penetrate. And I hate to break it down to just a slogan. If you had just said Trump's tariff tax for the past 5 months, you would be way ahead now and ready to win huge in the midterms and then win in 2028. How could you say that? Well, it's just a fact that in U.S. politics and politics all over the world, but in particularly in the United States, where a 1 or 2% swing wins elections, a slogan will win. I've written down some of the most famous slogans that have swayed public opinion in the United States. Most of them are from the Republicans. Weapons of mass destruction. Do you remember that one? The Republicans just started saying that a lot until it permeated into the psyche of the whole nation, and so that everyone in the United States, whether they follow politics or not, in their minds, they knew that slogan, weapons of mass destruction. They couldn't point to Iraq on a map or knew anything about what was happening geopolitically, but they knew the slogan, weapons of mass destruction, and they knew that George Bush was going to protect them from weapons of mass destruction. That's what he was saying. So they agreed with that. That swayed their opinion, even though they had no information to make a decision on it. That slogan allowed the United States to invade Iraq. A big, beautiful bill. The bill passed because it was big and beautiful. Waste, fraud, and abuse. The Department of Government Efficiency is going to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, of course, that's a great idea. We should root out waste, fraud, and abuse. So how much fraud was stopped? How many people and institutions, how much fraud was identified? Well, if there was fraud going on, if there was people in the U.S. government, civil servants that were engaged in fraud, and the Department of Government Efficiency discovered this, do you think there would be some people charged by the Justice Department now of committing fraud? Well, there hasn't been anyone charged with fraud because they didn't find any fraud. But that's a really good slogan, and everyone thought, yeah, that's a really good idea. We should stop fraud. It doesn't matter that there wasn't any. They just said it, and it worked. One of the reasons Donald Trump won against Hillary, despite the fact that Hillary was so unpopular, is he said he was going to build a wall, and we'll get Mexico to pay for it. He's so smart. Why didn't we think of that? I'm going to vote for him because he's going to build a wall. And now if anyone points out that there really isn't a completely built wall on the Mexican border, well, that's fake news. Don't believe that. That's fake. You're a very nasty reporter and you represent a fake news organization. But anyway, the power of slogans and the power of 3-word phrases is just, you can completely fool Americans, or at least guide them, 2 or 3 or 5% of them to believe what you say when you use slogans. Axe the tax. Canada's broken. Slogans work to a certain extent, much more in the United States than in Canada. So what are the Democrats doing now? Do they have a slogan? Do they have something that they've come up with, a mission or a vision or something that they represent now? Who is the leadership now? Who are in the leadership positions for the Democrats now? Well, there is one guy here, Chuck Schumer, who's the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. He's one of the top leaders in the Democratic Party. And we're not even going to talk about him because if I start talking about him, you'll fall asleep and stop watching this video. The other Democrat in a leadership position is this guy, Hakeem Jeffries, who's the leader of the Democrats in the House of Representatives. Compared to Chuck Schumer, this guy is just a bundle of energy. And he's actually come up with a slogan. He's thought long and hard about a way of permeating into the psyche of Americans. And he's come up with something that he thinks will help the Democrats win in the midterms and in 2028.
Well, actually, I'll tell you what we stand for, Joe. It's pretty clear. As Democrats, we believe in a strong floor and no ceiling. In America, you work hard, you play by the rules. You should be able to live the good life. And there should be no ceiling on your success, on your capacity to do anything in the United States of America. That's the great promise of this country. At the same period of time, there should be a strong floor.
And now that I have released the slogan that will lead us to victory, let me update you on the weather temperatures of the main cities in the United States measured in degrees Fahrenheit. Boston, 53, Philadelphia, 48, Tennessee, 65. Are you guys kidding me? With all due respect to American viewers who did not vote for Trump, who leave comments, please don't group us in with the people that support this administration. I just have to speak directly to you and let you know that you're going to lose again. Right? You're going to lose again because these guys, your leadership, they have no hope. They have no idea what they're doing. And when an election campaign starts, Donald Trump will seize the agenda. He will seize the media spotlight. And you won't be talking about what did he say? The hard floor and a high ceiling or whatever the hell he was talking about. You're going to start talking about murderers and rapists and mental patients and criminals that the Democrats have led into the United States that are roaming the streets, killing everyone. And you're going to see pictures of young, wholesome Americans that were murdered by people that aren't legally in the United States. And this is going to be on the news every day. And the Republicans are going to flood the media, and they're going to come up with a couple of really good slogans that lay the blame totally on the Democrats for an invasion of criminals. And they're going to paint you as the party that wants to have open borders and allow anyone to come into the United States and kill anyone they want. A lawless, open border party that is weak and doesn't want to protect the citizens of the United States. That's what the election's going to be about if you let the Republican Party paint the narrative. It's not going to be about a hardwood floor and a skylight ceiling or whatever the hell that guy was talking about. There are other Democrats that could be more suitable candidates that would have a better chance of seizing the narrative. One in particular, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, is one that's mentioned a lot. He's the most energetic and the most direct and is using social media and isn't afraid to back down from a fight. But he does have one problem. I'm just being honest here, okay? I'm not trying to ridicule these guys, but this is politics. Some of you may be upset with the video up till now because you're thinking, well, I'm just making fun of people for the sake of making fun of them. But I'm doing it because that's what happens in politics. There's probably about 45% of Americans that are going to vote Republican no matter what, and there's 45% that are going to vote Democrat no matter what. So you're dealing with that 5%, 10% of people in the middle, probably even less than that, 2 or 3%, probably even less than that, because it doesn't matter if you swing a few Democrats in Texas or Florida. That's not going to amount to anything. The amount of voters in swing states that are flippable, you're probably talking about 50 or 100 or 200,000 people that will dictate which way the election goes. So a slogan or ridiculing someone or just a mannerism of someone that's annoying, that's all it takes. All right. That's why I'm presenting it in this format. Please don't accuse me of just ridiculing for the sake of ridiculing. But this is the weakness of Gavin Newsom. And he's got to correct this, because one of the things that you can do to foolproof method of figuring out whether someone can win an election or become a leader is just to play a clip of him speaking and turn down the volume and watch. So let's do that. So there's no way that a guy who moves his hands all the time when he talks is going to win. Someone's got to sit him down and teach him to put his hands behind his back, or put his hands. One of the strategies that's taught to public speakers is put your hands down and make sure your hands are touching your pants and get used to the feeling of your hands touching something, because some people have the habit of just and it's not going to work. He's not going to win if he does that. If he's in a debate doing that, it's not going to work. They're going to be videos on TikTok and YouTube Shorts of him flailing his arms around. They're going to speed them up to 1.5 times the speed, and they're going to put it to funny music, and it's just not going to work. I'm being petty. This is petty. I understand that this is petty, but this is how it works. So, okay, this was a stupid video. I realize that, but it's important because it's true. I know as voters or as people that we're trying to stay informed, this type of stuff is ridiculously annoying, and you don't even want to believe that this matters, but it does. This wins or loses elections, and the point here is that from my perspective, having no stake in it, not being able to vote down there, just from viewing from, flying at 30,000 feet and looking down and observing without any personal stake in it, I can tell you that the Democrats are going to lose. It doesn't matter that Donald Trump approval rating is 33% now, and that a lot of the polling that's done now shows that a lot of the things he's doing are unpopular. That's irrelevant. It may make a big difference in the midterms when people really aren't as engaged and a presidential candidate is not running. That typically happens in the United States. The midterms is a time to say no to the administration, and the Democrats could do well in the midterms. I give you that. But in a presidential election, when each team has a leader and they go at it, that's the money game, right? That's you drive for show and you putt for dough. That's when the putting starts. And if this is the leadership that the Democrats have to choose from, and the message is we've got a hardwood floor and a glass ceiling. If that's the vision and the slogan, you're going to lose. It's as simple as that. And so the message for Canadians is, don't hope or count on Americans making a change down there that would be beneficial to us. Just forget about them. I proposed something for them. I made a video that gave them an excellent strategy. I'll leave the link for it up here in the top right corner of the screen. That video was shared and forwarded to a lot of media outlets that are pro-Democrat. It didn't gain any traction. The Democrats don't really see the value of a message that penetrates. If you're going to come up with a slogan or a message or a vision, you can't speak to the audience that you've already convinced. You have to come up with something that will penetrate people that wouldn't vote for you, or independents, or people that are not engaged. The only way you can do that is by coming up with a clever slogan that everyone will hear, because it's repeated over and over in the media and on TikTok and everywhere. And upon hearing it, it's something that can be remembered in people's minds, and they can pull that out of their mind even if they're not talking about politics. And that's one of the things that Pierre Poilievre did in the last election we had in Canada. He had the slogan, everything is broken and we need to axe the tax. It's all Trudeau's fault. Let's have an election now. And it was clever and it was working. He was way ahead in the polls. But the Liberals are light years better than the Democrats in reacting versus those strategies. The Liberals in Canada are a election-winning machine. They just simply saw what was going on, knew what those slogans and what the strategy was, and they made some really tough decisions. Not like the Joe Biden, he's not really getting old and he's not really having cognitive decline. He's going to lead us for another 6 years. You know, like what you see before your very eyes is wrong strategy that the Democrats use in the United States. The Liberals, ruthless as they are, saw this. Justin Trudeau is a liability. It's all Justin's fault, and Canada's broken. Well, what do? Well, Justin, you have to step down. You have to step down, and we'll bring in someone else that's completely the opposite of you. And by the way, the they're going to hammer us with axe the tax. So let's axe the tax before we even recall Parliament. And so all the conservatives' ammunition, all Pierre Poilievre's ammunition before the election was gone. Poilievre just couldn't understand. He was still talking about it's all Trudeau's fault. He started the campaign saying that, Mark, you're just like Justin was his new slogan, which was ridiculous because he's completely 180 degrees opposite to Justin. But he was in the debate talking about Justin Trudeau and talking about, well, you didn't really axe the tax. You only said you would, but the law is still on the books and we haven't voted on. And Mark Carney, I remember, interrupted him and said, I don't know what you're talking about. You're living in the past. Just to let you know, Justin's gone and the tax is gone. They're both gone. They're not here anymore. And there was silence. And I saw Pierre Poilievre's eyes just do this. And it was over. He had no more ammunition. All the work to penetrate the population in Canada with those slogans that he had put that effort in for 2 years, it was all irrelevant. The Liberals saw this and reacted. And in future elections, they will ruthlessly adjust their path in response to whatever narrative that the Conservatives come up with and try and present their own narrative. Completely unlike the United States, the Democratic Party, they have no clue what direction they're going. They have no clue what their message is. The message that their leadership puts forth now is just floor and ceiling. It's pathetic, really. So Democrats in the United States, or anyone that does not want the Republican MAGA movement to continue down there, you have no idea how to counter that, and you're sleepwalking towards another Republican government in 2028. That's my assessment, and I know that that will bother a lot of you, but I'm making this video because you will not win by just sleepwalking your way towards an election. You have to have a strategy. And you will not win by just having a room full of Democrats all agree that, yeah, we don't like Trump. That's our number one policy. We don't like Trump. Of course you will all agree because you've already made up your minds. That's not who has to change their minds for you to win. If everyone votes the same as they did last time, you're going to lose again. You have to convert some people. And it's possible. It's very possible. The next election should be an easy victory for the Democrats. But don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I think all hope is lost and the MAGA movement has total control of the United States. I think the 2028 election should be the easiest election for the Democrats to win, easier than the one that they lost by having Hillary Clinton as their candidate. But it's theirs to lose, and they're on the path of losing right now unless they make some major changes. So as far as Canadians go, forget about them. We have to move forward with our agenda of buying Canadian, supporting Canadian, diversifying, and all the things I've been talking about in other videos. And future videos, we're going to get back to talking about Canadian issues. I wanted to make this one today just to point this out because let me show you this before we go. Even on one of the most left-wing media outlets in the United States, it's called MS Now. It used to be called MSNBC. The headline is, "Why Hakeem Jeffries' new slogan for the Democratic Party is so ineffective." I mean, even they see it. So leave some comments in the comment section. And if you have some time and you haven't seen it yet, watch the video I did giving the free advice to the Democratic Party, how they could win. And that will still work if they start that advice right now, leading up to the midterms. They still have almost a year. Watch that video if you have time. Subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. If you want to support me on a monthly basis, consider becoming a channel member by clicking the join button. Have a fantastic rest of your day, all you Canadians and Americans. I know I've been hard on you, but you know, what can I say? We can't count on you. We can't put our hope in you. You've lost too many times. And the clown is in power still. So that's just the message I had for today. I'll catch you all on the next one.